question that people have is, why shouldn't I move in with my girlfriend, boyfriend before we get married?
Well, if you're going to do that, then don't plan on getting married. Because statistically, people who have lived together and then get married are more likely to get divorced than couples who are not living together.
Oh, wow. Why is that?
By far, by far. I mean, if I add it, it's off the charts. What is the benefit of living together without marriage? It's so dehumanizing. Let's live together, but I don't want to marry you. Why? I'm not sure about you. I mean, why? What is it saying? It's so...
Demanding somebody give themselves to you without making a commitment to return?
It's literally saying, let's live together without a commitment so that if I meet somebody more interesting, I'm free to go. That's what you're saying. And you want this to be a meaningful relationship? So then you get married and you don't know how to handle this. In other words, living together doesn't prepare you for marriage. Not being committed doesn't help you become committed. You get used to non-committal relationships. All of a sudden you're married. You didn't prepare for this. So it comes as a shock and you end up getting divorced because you can't stand the confinement.
Seems like a lot of people have a problem. They're extremely, extremely cautious when it comes to quote unquote committing to somebody. They need to be 100% sure with all different angles analyzed and with all the. Is that? I'm assuming they see it as a good thing to do, to be careful.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
Sensible. But here's the problem. If you can't commit to anybody, then you can't commit to anybody. What is it about the person that is going to make you commit?
Love?
What does that mean? They love each other. They're just not ready to commit. So what are you waiting for? It's not an interpersonal problem. It's not I can't commit to you. I can't commit. Why? What's going on there? I mean, if you want to be dramatic about it, you can call it narcissism. My life is so filled with me, there is no room for anyone else. And it doesn't matter how nice you are. There's just no room. Sorry. No vacancy. Yeah, but I'm a nice guy. Yeah, you're a nice guy. There's no vacancy. There's no space in my life for you or anybody else. So you're waiting for someone to, what, create new space? Be so irresistible that you'll give up your own space?
It seems like it's something everyone's been raised on. Like even watch like Seinfeld from the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Where part of what they look for in a person is, are they good at breaking up? Are they nice during a breakup? Because it's so expected. Obviously they're joking, but it does. Sorry.
Hardly joking.
Hardly joking.
Yeah.
It does seem like these days people are basically just raised to find somebody, spend a few years maybe at most,
Yeah.
and then like whatever, find somebody else. So people who are raised. Sorry.
And then of course the tragedy is that they're alone in the world. Their immune system is damaged because aloneness is a horrible condition. So really the need to connect to another person has very little to do with love. We love love. That's not a good enough reason to bond with another human being, commit to another human being, or make room for another human being. So at best, we make room for the love of the other human being. There's room in my heart for your love, so fill it. But beyond your love, I don't need the rest of you. I don't have that much empty space. So the result is we have love, but we're all alone. So, but how can that be? If you love somebody, you're not alone. Yes, you are. You have love, but you don't have someone. So it's just you with love, or you without love. But it's just you. And that's unacceptable even to God. Even God was not content to be alone.
So if you're talking to somebody who basically has their life together, they're basically happy, they were raised basically by mainstream American culture, what's the, how do you convince them that traditional marriage is the way to go?
If they're not interested, there's very little. I mean, if you're a happy narcissist, what are you going to say?
So I guess the people who are young and still don't have their life together yet, and they look up to people who basically have their life together, and they choose to remain single and independent. What would be the alternative? What's the other way to go for them? How do you convince them that marriage is a good idea?
I think they have to understand what marriage is. They may have a very distorted view of marriage. They may have seen their parents in an unhappy relationship or an unhealthy relationship. And to them, that's marriage. And yeah, why would they want that? So we have to introduce the whole idea of marriage, which was never necessary before in history. It was so natural. Nobody ever talked about it. You grow up, you get married. Nobody ever said why. You get married, you have children. Nobody said why. But now, yeah, we need a why. A good why. And it's really true of everything. Things that we never questioned before, now we need to know why. You're Jewish? So marry Jewish. Why? Never. It was never a question before. You're male, be male. Why? So I mean, if you want to find the good part, if we can find the why and explain it, it would deepen the things that we've been doing all along automatically without question. So maybe it's a good thing that we're finally asking. But asking doesn't mean rejecting. It's like if I don't know why, I stop. Don't stop. If I don't know why I'm male, I quit being male. It's ridiculous. The question's a good question. Find a good answer. Don't quit on yourself.
So what is the why of marriage?
The why of marriage is to become one rather than separate. Separate is not holy, it's not virtuous, it's not good, right? It is not good to be alone.
To be single is not to be one?
No. To be only male or only female is not complete.
Mm.
So when male and female reunite, then they become complete. Not that if you're single, you're not a complete human being. You're a human being, but the other half is missing.
Seems to be, maybe this ties into something else about people's confusion of whether or not God needs reminiscence, but whether or not God needs us. You tell somebody, you tell your wife, if without you I would die. That's obviously a very abusive and very nasty thing to say, and it's not very healthy at all, and it's terrible. On the other hand, it's not true. But on the other hand, if you say I don't need you, that's also a very horrible thing to say.
Yes.
So it seems like there's really two different kinds of need. Like a moral need, and then just like a physical limiting need.
Yeah. So even on a human level, There's a need that is a means to an end. I need you because otherwise I'll die. Well, then I'm either your husband, your wife, or your medicine. I'm the tool for keeping you alive. So you're not married to me, you're married to any need that is not the end. You don't need it, you need what it will bring. But there is also a need that is the end itself. So if a woman asks her husband, what do you need me for? What is the answer? I don't need you for, I need you. Yeah, but what for? What? I'm not using you to get to something else. You in my life, perfect. And the same is true with our relationship with God. God doesn't need us as a means to an end. He's not using us to get somewhere. Having us, that's the end. Question is only, how does he have us if we're rebellious and ignore him and reject him and not believe in him? Does he have us? So that's what the Torah is all about. The Torah tells you how God has you and how God does not have you. But what he needs is you, not your religion, not your faith, not your love, just you. But if you don't love him and you don't believe in him and you don't think about him, well then he needs you, but he doesn't have you.
What does it mean to have you?
To be on the same page at least. To think alike, to want the same thing. To be partners, not enemies, adversaries. So that's why, to think that God doesn't need anything, what does that do to our relationship? He needs nothing. I'm supposed to, how do I handle it? Welcome to New York.
I think they're doing additions to the school here. Just as a side note, you grew up in this community?
I grew up here, yes. Down the block.
Up there?
Kingston.
Was this school here when you were growing up?
It was not.
Progress?
Very little is the same as when I grew up.
So the place we were earlier, where the class was that your parents' house later?
That was my parents' house. That was my parents' house, but I had pretty much moved out by then. I was either away in yeshiva or I was married. So we grew up in a house closer to Kingston, on President Street. And now it's a dormitory and it's a big building.
Wow.
Completely changed.
Ever go back there?
To that building?
Yeah.
I did once. But that meant they had remodeled the whole thing so completely I couldn't even find which was my apartment. All I know is on the third floor.
How big was your apartment when you were there?
Tiny. Tiny little kitchen, and you ate in the kitchen. It was very cozy. 8 kids.
Oh wow. Were there other Jewish families there?
Everybody was Jewish.
All from Europe?
Mostly from Europe, yes.
For Holocaust survivors?
Many were children of survivors. Yeah. It was not a very happy atmosphere, except for Eastern Parkway.
Yeah, what was happening?
Oh, the Chabad Center where the Rebbe was, And they say New York never sleeps. That place never slept. So as teenagers, we were so inspired by it, especially since everybody else was so morbid. The Rebbe acted like he's in charge of the world and a lot to do and no time to waste, and let's get on with it. And I was like, you remember the war? It was in all the papers.
But that was purposeful, right? That wasn't just he purposely looked forward to move on.
Well, it actually motivated the optimism. You know, we had suffered so much loss, we got to make up, catch up, replenish, start a family, have kids, raise them, take the world back from, you know, the evil that dominated it during the war. So it wasn't like it didn't exist, but instead of being morbid about it, it became motivational. How do you let the world slip away like that? Get it back, get it back. Good always wins over evil, so let's go for it.